Quiet on the set. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Welcome to the 800th Dear Myrtle Hangout. I am like in utter shock. I knew it was coming up in December, but I've got documentary evidence to prove to you that this is indeed the 800th Hangout. First of all, and I'm getting choked up, I have to thank my partner in crime, Russ Worthington. I could not do this without Cousin Russ. Yay. Unmute your mics, guys. Let's cheer them on. Yay to both of you! Woohoo! Happy 800! You know, somebody asked, when was our first Hangout? And I said, well, we had Hangouts. And then we, before that, we did webinars. And before that, we did podcasts. So we've been doing a lot of things. Cousin Russ used to listen to my podcasts as he commuted to work. And aside from being our technical guy, Cousin Russ is a serious genealogy researcher, and he's a family tree maker user extraordinaire who helps a lot of people. And years ago, I said to Cousin Russ, I like the video you just made on Family Tree Maker, but you really need your own YouTube channel. And he's like, no, that's okay. And I said, no, Russ, you need your own channel. And so how many videos do you have over there? Quite a few.
I don't know. I have to look.
Go look and let us know, because it's pretty cool. Russ, talk to me about how things have changed in the last while as far as what we do. It's really, we do better talking, don't we, than typing?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we were missing when we first started doing this stuff online was interaction with the community. And I think that was the most important thing that we did. And we used the technology available at the time, and then we found a new one, and that's where we have been, and now have expanded that a little bit by putting a skin around where we started, and we got the conversation, and that's the important thing. We're communicating with you, and if
yes.
A lot of other people who do Hangouts, it's a one-way thing. It's behind the podium presentation thing, and that's not where we wanted to go. And I think there's a lesson there somewhere for everybody in our vertical.
Yep. There's something about getting out from behind the podium. It de-stresses us, doesn't it? It makes it easier to assimilate a process of using software or visiting a website or figuring out how on earth are we going to craft a citation.
There's another small aspect of it, and we've done it before, and not many people like to make mistakes. Yeah. And what's interesting about what we do, we're doing this stuff live, and you make mistakes. You don't, I do.
No, I do.
But we make mistakes. It's how we recover from those mistakes is where the learning is, because we've all made some sort of mistake, except maybe Valerie.
Now, Valerie,
she's got that ruler there, so.
You dress for the occasion, it looks like. Oh, there's her ruler. Way cool.
So, but you learn from the mistakes, and be open to make mistakes and know it's going to happen. How do you recover?
Yeah, you know, I was teaching software, the post-secondary setting and also in the corporate setting in my olden days, and I much loved working in the classroom as opposed to going to a presentation about how to use Microsoft Excel, because the person would just whiz through all these things and I'd never learn anything. I got a couple more things to share with you. I said that I had documentary evidence that this is in fact the 800th Hangout. Now, you remember that a few weeks ago, Google decided I had, I guess it was an obscene comment from not here, but over on YouTube. And comments are supposed to be turned off on my channel. But at that point, I had 796 videos. This morning when I logged in, before I clicked this start broadcast button, I had 3 videos over on my Pat Richley-Erickson channel. Luckily, that channel hasn't been shut down. Eventually, YouTube is going to forgive me and realize it wasn't me. And I'll be able to move all these videos over to DearMYRTLE, but you can clearly see there's my total of 799, and the one you're in is the 800th video. How's that for evidence, Russ?
All right. Valerie's going to write the citation for us.
Okay, yeah, we got to talk about that on Wednesday. Okay, I just wanted to mention, I am amazed too by the panelists that show up. When I look back, and I just grabbed a couple of the graphics that we use to introduce, or as our logo for the advertising of our Hangouts. You know, we've had people like the archive lady join us regularly. This last year, we had Blaine Bettinger with DNA once a month. Remember, folks, again, this month, we're going to have open Q&A with Blaine. And then we've had a plethora of methodology things we've discussed, several mastering genealogical proof. We're in the middle of our GenDoc study group. We did, oh my gosh, the year we did Elizabeth Schoenmill's quick lessons, that was like exhausting but powerful. We learned so much. And then we've had folks from all walks of life live. I wanted to grab the graphic, but I just had to stop, or I would have had 432 slides about all our great nationality or type-oriented study groups. Liv helped us with Norwegian. We've done Japanese this year. Nobody else has done a Japanese, but it's because people come to the table and say, hey, I'd like to hang out with you. And I'm like, that's great. And then we discuss German genealogy research, stuff like that there. Cousin Russ, talk to me about Wacky Wednesday and game night.
Well, I'll do the second one first. The game night, the game night serves 2 purposes. One is in order to get people to help participate in some of our study groups and being on the panel, we like to get the technology out of the way, and that is what we started with the game night, is so we could get technology out of the way by having and do it with some fun, but more importantly, the technology, getting it taken care of is okay. But the other thing is something that is not very, people don't talk about it, they blog about it, but how to tell the story of an ancestor and have fun trying to figure out who that ancestor was, and then to be able to tell the story of an ancestor. And
well, and that was like an unintended consequence. We wanted to hang out with people. We did do it once a week initially to get them to have the courage to come in to the film strip panel and turn on their mic and get their webcams working. And then we found out how powerful the discussions became when we learned about, oh, Dave Robinson doesn't have just New England ancestors. He's got those people from the Deep South. And it's cool to tell that part, to do that kind of thinking and sharing, because we need to do more.
It does 2 things. First of all, it gets the person who's presenting an ancestor look at what they have about that person and really understand. I know when I do it, I spend trying to make sure, do I have this story right, and checking my documents. But so I'm going to present, I'm going to try to find a picture and then try to figure out what questions should I have them ask, or what questions should I ask. But then the other side, the people on the panel have to think about how to do research. Now, what did that clue mean, and what did those other questions mean, and to come to a conclusion. And we also wanted to bring in the viewers and have them participate as well. And most of the good clues, except especially Dr. Shelley bringing in the cemeteries.
Yeah.
but it's fun.
It's totally fun. And then we settled on Wacky Wednesday for Wednesday night regular hangout. And our topic changes all the time. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, usually on Wednesday or on Monday, there'll be a topic that we talk about, and there's a lot of interest, but not. It's an hour's worth of discussion that we could have. So, Wacky Wednesday became the holding place, or a place where we could have that discussion that we really want to have, and that now has gotten some focus down to the DNA thing was awesome, with Blaine Bettinger being with us to tell us what DNA is about, and the archive lady is awesome because she tells us how to be family archivists. And the interesting thing about that is she's a genealogist and an archivist, and what a combination. So Wacky Wednesday, I won't call it a catch-all, but it's a place where we can talk at length, or an hour anyhow, about a topic that usually it's fallout from
Mondays
Monday.
with MYRT.
Yep.
Yes, fallout. That sounds like a disaster area. But anyway, well, and I'm hardly ever there because I usually go to dinner with Mr. MYRT on Wacky Wednesday. And one of my very distant cousin comes to visit. So you'll notice that this coming Wednesday, we have a Wacky Wednesday scheduled, but there's no topic yet. So let's see what comes up during our conversation today, to see if that's something we can devote a full hour on Wednesday evening. Maybe Fräulein Schmidt will come visit.
But there is something else that we throw in when we have time, and that's we spend time on indexing, and how important that is, and because there's records out there that need to be indexed. So how do you index? And then generally there's somebody who's been an arbitrator as a viewer. So we have a whole conversation about indexing, and I think I may be wrong here, but I think that one of the things that Dave has done is taken that into an in-person indexing project that he's done.
Yes, bravo, Dave. How did it work out for your people to contribute to the worldwide indexing day by Family Search?
We had a reasonable number of people who are very enthusiastic about it. The downside was the center. We're having a hard time finding a place to do that as a group together. Yeah. But I keep mentioning it in newsletters and emails and such, and there are most of them who had participated are continuing to do this at home.
Yay,
so
yay.
It's a matter of, a support mechanism of some kind. It's too bad we can't be socially connected in the same room and have coffee together and all that. But
well, you could have a hangout on screen too. Know. It would work.
Kazinga, you got me.
I hear you.
Yeah, but we're real proud of the fact that we were able to put a few folks together to get that done, or work on getting it done.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, because it's paying it forward. It's giving back to the community, and I love to see that sort of a thing. Let me just talk to you. When I went through some of our old graphics, Russ, I saw this, and I forgot that we did this one time. For a couple of times we've done this years ago, where people would bring a document in that they thought was unusual or noteworthy, and they'd share it. That's one of the cool things that happens in our Hangouts, is when we're talking about the 1841 census, or a bishop's transcript in England versus a parish register. entry, we actually bring it up on the screen. And that, to me, you know, picture's worth 1,000 words. Maybe I'm a kid at heart, I don't know. But I relate better when, you know, Hillary zooms in on something, our gal in Wales, and shows us the difference between a copy that was made and certified by somebody from the local office, or the actual photocopy of the original entry. And then let's see, what have you got from the community, Russ? Let's bring some comments in.
Okay, Bill West says happy 800th from sunny southeastern Massachusetts.
Sunny, we're having snow here in Salt Lake. Just a smidge, but still, it's snow.
Dara says, happy day. Congratulations, dear Myrtle and Cousin Russ. Thank you for such dedication and generosity. And Liv says, congratulations on the 800th, and thank you for all the knowledge you share and fun too. And June says, 800th, you all rock. Thank you for all you do. And Yvonne says, well done. And Kathy's clapping for both of you.
Oh.
Donna, congratulations. Hillary says, yes,
you've been around a while.
Webinars. That was something that we should also acknowledge, is that it's not just U.S. based. We have Hillary with us most times, and our friend Mr. Laws, and we have people from the other side of the world join us as well.
We need to think about John Laws. He is just barely recovering from his own terrible, debilitating thing with sepsis in his legs, and can barely hobble around occasionally with crutches, but usually in a wheelchair. Yesterday, his wife Lorna went to the hospital. He made a posting that said it sounded like it was a heart attack. I haven't heard back from him yet, so keep him in our prayers.
Yeah, I haven't heard back either.
So that keeps me. That brings up another point. We're learning how to become professional genealogists, and I'm still learning. But we also care about each other, and it's really good. I love it. All right, go through some more of these.
Luna says, I still have several of your podcasts on my old computer.
I was a babe in the woods when I did that, Lana, didn't I?
Anna says, congratulations to you both, and thank you. And
hi, Anna.
Deneen says, happy 800th. So grateful for all contributions, and dear Myrtle for creating an empire of genealogical excellence. Wow.
That's pretty nice. We have your $20 will be in the mail shortly, Denise.
And Valerie says, I'm getting emotional as I am humbled and honored to be part of the Hangouts and such dear friends, Pat and Russ.
Well, Valerie, we've known each other for a long time. We used to do online things somewhere else. You want to talk about AOL's genealogy forum?
Yeah, back in the day, I think it was 1990, the American Online Genealogy Forum. And so we've known each other. We were definitely mere toddlers back then, like you say.
Yes, definitely.
But that's where we did the online chats. And of course, we were able to verbalize. We weren't able to see each other necessarily, but we also did the typing in the chat box. And I quickly used power tools so that I could type in my text and then have it scroll where I didn't have to type 10,000 words a minute. But there was a lot of sharing, you know, and a lot of knowledge given out back then. And I am I am truly humbled and honored to be here, and I get emotional.
All right, I'm passing the box of Kleenex. There you go, babe. Thank you.
But congratulations to you both, and I truly am so touched to be dear friends with both of you.
Thank you. All right, let me show you, because somebody asked me. Well, I always get people asking me, how on earth do you do Hangouts? And so I just wanted to show you my computer desktop. This is a screenshot I took. It's never that clean. I've probably got 5 inches of piles of things on both the left and the right side. But Mr. MYRT has equipped this room and this house so that it's easy for old MYRT. You know, I use that dang wheelchair a little more often than I would like. And so on my left monitor, I have Trello. That's where all my notes are about what we're planning to talk about during Hangout. The middle monitor has, I don't know if you can see it right there at the very top middle, has that Logitech C920 webcam, which is better than comes built in our monitors, if you ask me. So the Hangout's right there, front and center. And then on the right monitor is whatever it is I'm sharing, website that we might visit, etc. And Cousin Russ, why do we use a USB headset even in this day and age of earbuds?
Well, the quality of the sound that you hear, those watching, and the sound that, for me, the sound that I want it. I don't want the background noise that's around me. So
yeah.
But it's the sound quality is very definitely different. I think one point in time you and I did a hangout to demonstrate that. So
oh yeah, we did on both a Mac and a PC, I'm remembering, and I would unplug this headset microphone and just go through my webcam or through an external mic, and it wasn't quite right, and it was very noticeable in the recording when we weren't using a USB headset. So we're going for high quality. Our content may be rotten, but we're going for great quality sound, guys. All right. Same thing happened on my Mac. I used the earbud, and that was pretty good, we thought. But when I used the USB, it's much better. So I don't know why. It's just technology. When that changes, we'll let you know. All right. This is the webcam we use. It's also USB. I always have 2 headsets and 2 of these just in case one decides to fail. Man, that picture looks pretty dusty, doesn't it? This Logitech C920 is I think it's about 80 bucks. It's pretty expensive for us, considering that you can get them built into your laptop. But it does HD quality video. Many say HD quality, but they mean for still shots. And I always laugh because why would you buy a webcam, Russ, for a still shot? I don't know.
I don't know. The other thing about that is that the camera is higher quality than what will be seen across different platforms. YouTube, which is where the recording ends up, gives not the same quality, but it is close to it. And if you go to other platforms for video, the platforms make the quality of the video less than what we can do with this kind of a camera. And I hang around with people who try different configurations, and this is the best that we have today. And like the headset, if it changes, we'll let you know.
Yeah, we love keeping on top of this stuff. All right, let's see what the comments are, and then we're going to talk some genealogy. Enough of all this falderall.
Betty Lou says your interaction with your audience is what sets you above everyone else. And Luna says, I like this format and can go back and watch many times if needed.
Wait,
yes.
Let's pause there. Another thing that I like is I'm not having to go back and do any post-production video editing. I don't have to, I liked GoToWebinar. It was great. But I can only sit in this chair so long before I get grouchy from pain. And we don't want to go there. Automatically, the video is archived and can be viewed again at hangouts.dearmyrtle.com, which is where I recommend you go. or my YouTube channel. And so I don't have to do any extra work. I might add another graphic at the beginning, but that's no big deal. Yeah, I like this. I like the Hangout format. I like business Hangouts where the unified chat stays stuck with the video. So all your comments before and during the live Hangout, excuse me, stay stuck. It's a sticky thing. Cousin Russ, let's talk about where the discussion continues.
Okay. The discussion continues in the Dear Myrtle genealogy community on Google Plus, and I will, at the end of the broadcast, I will put a link into the unified chat to take you to the community and the post that is associated with this broadcast. But you want to watch it in the from the Dear Myrtle Hangout, the hangouts.dearmyrtle.com website. So you see the conversation, but the conversation will continue after the recording is done. So we want you to continue the conversation in the Google Plus community. So everybody who's has notification in the Dear Myrtle community will get a notification that somebody made a comment. And so we want we realize that not everybody can watch this at noon Eastern on Monday. They're watching at 6 o'clock tonight, and they can still leave comments, but the comments are on.
They're in context. Yeah, they're in context in this community. The link is right here so they can watch the original after the fact and view all the comments and the links that we mentioned that show up in the unified chat. And then go find that post, which Cousin Russ says he'll give you the link at the end of each live Hangout to take you right to this post out of all of them over in Dear Myrtle's genealogy community. I will not let you in this community, nor will Cousin Russ, if you don't have a profile picture and you're not mentioning genealogy in your About Me description. Keeps the spammers out, doesn't it, Cousin Russ?
It does.
Okay.
Donna says, absolutely, we learn from mistakes. You all have advanced our understanding and abilities to research our ancestors. You folks are like cheerleaders.
This is so cool. Thank you, guys. We'll pull in some of. Oh, let's bring that in. That's a good point for that, Blaine.
I love Blaine's Q&A because they are recorded. I so missed much while at work. Yep.
You know, that's the thing. They kind of expect you to show up, Valerie. I hear you. You know, the other thing, I like that you can bring in these comments and the person's name is there, Russ. All I had to do was design that purple background, which is an homage to our dear friend Cindy of cindyslist.com. But because of the technology we use, that comment comes in when Cousin Russ clicks a button. Most of the time it works, doesn't it, Russ? Okay. All right, we're good. Let's see what we can do. Let me close my PowerPoint. Actually decided at the last minute to make that PowerPoint so you could see a few things. All right, so what do we want to talk about today? It looks like, oh, Valerie, you got your copy of the book? I got my copy of the book.
Yes, I did.
All right, so this is the link Cousin Russ will share with you to the 4th edition. I have it here somewhere. Yep. And I have made a decision that we're going to do this monthly.
Ooh.
Maybe twice monthly. I'm not quite sure. The problem is there are 28 blasted chapters, chock full of stuff. It's going to have to be a 90-minute study group.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And the thing is, I'm not going to be the one processing homework. What we're going to do is call a group of panelists, and as we work through this, part of why I don't want to do this every week is I don't want to just do American genealogy in 2018. I want to spread it out. It's going to take us a while to get through this. But the panelists will be called, and in groups of 2 or 3, as they choose, they will sign up and tackle one chapter, and they will be the ones that will basically teach that chapter with Val Greenwood's information and using our own example. So you've got it, by George, you've got it.
Yes, and I compared it. I don't know what happened to my first and third edition, but comparing it to the second edition, like the first part on research background, he had 8 chapters. Now there's 11. And then part 2, it goes up to chapter 28. So there's an increase of a couple of chapters, and it's mentioned in that link. A couple more are added, 2 chapters on technology. And so I haven't compared exactly what was what and what is now. I just count the chapters to see how much it's grown.
Top level comparison.
Right, and there's 778 pages in this new edition versus 609 in the second edition. So right there, that tells you it's increased. But I love what they said on the website, and I guess I've had that, I don't know, mantra or quote, but I'd like to share it if I may, where it says, the researcher's guide is unsurpassed. It's good instructional guidance is good instructional guidance is critical to the success of family history research. And I've been telling that to all of my students, either those who have taken my class or those who are currently taking the class, or that's what I say to those who are just thinking about it stage. You know, you have to have good, solid learning. And I don't ever claim to know it all, but I know enough of the methodology to teach it, and in a manner that it's understandable and fun. And I'm going back to using this as a textbook, required textbook in one of my levels of courses.
I totally get it. So the concept of doing of taking a chapter a month, I don't know how on a couple of the chapters, because I'm just on chapter 4 and I got it Friday.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how they're going to get this all, one whole chapter into one session, but it's beginning groundwork, getting a solid foundation for research in American genealogy. If we do it once a month, and I'm going to be very careful to include all the previous Hangouts in the announcement for the next month's chapter studies, so that people can follow along. Now, I don't want to be US centric. I want to do Italian. I want to do Hispanic or Spanish language research. I want to think about a different way to handle methodology. We've been doing a lot this year because of doing Dr. Jones's mastering, mastering genealogical documentation, where we're doing citations and we're comparing and contrasting with Elizabeth Schoen Mill's work. And that has informed my success in doing a better job crafting citations and not being reliant on my genealogy software to craft it for me.
Right. Maybe I'll volunteer, and if I'm lucky enough to be accepted to teach one of the chapters, maybe I'll pick church records, because it was an American church records that led me to the German research, and pull in how we can, yes, it's American research, but it's going to get you to foreign research. And in my case, it was huge, German. So
yeah, I totally get it. Well, okay, put yourself down for that. Don't forget.
Okay,
I think it's good.
I got a whole lot of witnesses.
All right. Let's. Valerie, don't worry. Valerie Lisk says, "Myrt, slow down. My book hasn't arrived yet." Right. We won't start this till January, guys, and I haven't got the schedule done, but we'll make it. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we've got. Pat, I want to switch gears. Activate your camera and your mic, and then I'll know you're ready for your part. Hillary, what's up with you? What have you been doing lately?
Well, when I was doing my homework for the study group on this coming Wednesday,
Yes.
one of the things I was going to refer to, well, which I have referred to in my homework, is a newspaper cutting that somebody sent me via email. Now, the newspaper cutting that they sent me had the journal on it, or the name of the newspaper. It also had the date on it.
Like somebody wrote it, or it was printed?
From the printed thing, it was actually an image of the bit from the page that I was sent.
My people are always buried on the bottom corner of a page where there's no label.
Yeah.
So you have to make one.
Yeah, but as ever, you never have the page. The page number wasn't there, so I've only got this cutting. So I'm thinking, well, I want to cite this, but I've got no page number to cite. But so what did I do? Well, yesterday I sent an email to the person that sent me the cutting, and they said, "Oh, I'll look it up." But they said, "Why don't you contact the paper that actually themselves?" So yesterday I sent an email to the paper, and just before I came on the Hangout, I got a phone call from somebody at the paper, and they're going to send me some information. And that, so hopefully I'll have a bit more information by the time we get to the on Wednesday, and I might actually be able to finish my citation properly.
Well, I saw your post on Facebook, and I'm like, a lot of us get newspaper clippings that somebody wrote on it that it was the Seattle Times or the Post-Intelligencer or the Washington Post, but we have no idea of a date, especially when it says he passed away yesterday. That doesn't help us when we don't know the date of publication, and in an obituary. And all they did was put the year, that he was born in 1819 and he died in 1978. Okay, that doesn't narrow it down. We want the full date. I want to hear from people what they're doing. Let's see, Russ, you've got something there. Is that you, Russ? Let's see.
Yep. Are you talking about like that?
Yeah.
The good news is that I also have that, which still doesn't answer the question, but somewhere in my collection I do have that front page, but that's what I got, and
you were happy to get it.
Yeah, but you notice the scan is the full page scan, but it doesn't have the newspaper, so I have to go find it. I have hints of what newspaper it is, but that image didn't help me.
Yeah.
And that image didn't even tell me the newspaper to call. But I do have. So you sent an email to the newspaper and they called you back. That is awesome.
I can't believe it. Tell us more.
Yeah, well, they've got a website. The people that do the paper, and so I went to the website and there's a thing of a contact us. So I sent them filled in the form and put in a little note as to what I was saying I was trying to cite one of their papers. It was a fairly recent one. It's actually one from 2006, because in this newspaper they do I don't know if it's every issue, but at least probably every so often they do a thing where they get things that people have submitted, and somebody submitted a photograph to the paper, and it was what was with the photograph, and the fact that I've seen this photograph somewhere else, which was why I wanted to use that for the study group. So obviously, if people read my homework, which is actually posted on the study group already,
they
can see a bit more about it. And as I say, it'd be nice if I actually be able to finish off the rest of the citation by actually being able to put the page number on it. So.
Wow. All right. Well, let me show you what luckily we can still do at Genealogy Bank. I was a little surprised when I found this mention. I was searching for Lowell Froman, my maternal grandfather, and this is his mother's obituary. I thought she had died in California, but I didn't know any better until I saw this, because Genealogy Bank happens to have the, let me zoom out a little so I can get the whole thing. Okay. They happen to have this obituary. So it happens that I can center the and zoom in and out until I get the obituary and this part at the top, which says the name of the newspaper, and the date of February 12th, 1967, and Seattle, Washington, page 20. So when I use my Snagit to capture it, I'll click the capture button. I can then elect to get all of this if I wish, so that again I have documentary evidence. Now this is what it looks like, and I may decide to clean it up a little bit. Cousin Russ, talk to me about the advisability of getting the whole page and the zoomed in page. What are your thoughts on that?
I like both. So you have it in the focus point in context with the whole paper. Well, it's the third column, about halfway down the page, and here's the bolded title, but have it in context for the paper. Now, if I would present that in a presentation, I would have the picture of the whole page, but then I would blow up and put on top of that full page the piece that you just copied with Snagit. So if I was doing a presentation, that's what I would have, and then I would highlight on that page. I put red box around where the article was, then bring that article and overlay it over the paper, the text of the image that you just captured.
Yeah, this is a thing that bugs me. So I'm going to actually demonstrate what you're talking about. This really gets me when you go to a presentation and it's, there's 80 people in the room. I'm going to capture the full page. There we go. And the presenter says, now I know this is too small for you to read. Honestly, seriously, this frustrates me. Why do people do that? It's my 800th birthday, Russ. I can talk about this. All right, so let's get rid of all this. I'm going to put that full page thing in the background. Oh, not that one. Let's take this one. All right. Okay, so there is the full picture. In fact, I could zoom in more or whatever. Why not do this? And now let me get the other okay. And paste this. And really zoom in on the actual obituary. Let us go ahead and crop. And even this may not be good enough. Okay, let's bring this corner in. There we go. But you get the idea. This is what presenters should be showing us, not the full page with an arrow pointing in the background to the obituary. It should be this big. Now, let me see what it looks like on screen. It's still kind of hard to read, even though my middle monitor has this Hangout on full screen. Let's look at this and make it even bigger. Okay, it's starting to pixelate. Okay, what do we get from this obituary? She's named Mrs. Louise May Gilo. So apparently she was married. She was 89. She has her address. Washington Memorial Chapel is not a church, but if it had been, St. Patrick's Cathedral, you'd know that's where the church records might be. She died Thursday in a Seattle hospital. There again, the context of that date is important. Let's look at the next paragraph. Mrs. Gilo came from Seattle 5 years ago from San Diego. She was born in Coffee, Missouri. 3 locations: Seattle, San Diego, Coffee. So if I were giving a class, if I were holding a discussion, Russ, about the importance of obituary research and every little information item, not just the date, this is a good one to work with. I apparently, when I grabbed the text, I had forgotten to turn off the highlights for the name. But you've got some names. You have 3 sons, 3 daughters, and where the burial is. There's a lot to be found there. So which is going to look better? This thing? The full page? Nah, we need to be able to dissect this obituary to have a worthwhile discussion. And it's as simple as that. You like putting a red border around things, Russ. So I could have decided, as we were doing each one of these paragraphs that we were considering, okay, we'll do the shape no fill, and we'll outline it, and then we'll change the weight of it. I wish that could all be done with one click. And that can be animated so that you're looking at this paragraph or you're looking at this one as you go through it all. Please do this, those of you who are presenters. Please zoom way in. Okay, what have you got, Dave? What do you want to tell us? My cousin Dave needs to unmute himself.
Well, yeah, the cursor was on the other screen. I always lose the silly cursor. Anyway, well, this is just kind of a neat story. I got an ancestry hint for my daughter's grandmother-in-law, who I had recorded as Mary Unknown. The hint was for a 1930 census, which gave me the name of somebody named Mary Zellgraf, born in Ohio. Now, we're all from Western Massachusetts, but, you know, just being diligent, I kept after it and kept after it, found a newspaper article. The short story is her grandfather-in-law, who just died a couple of months ago, had a tattoo on his left arm near the inside of his elbow with a name, and he would refuse to tell anybody in the family what it was all about. He wouldn't talk about it. Old Polish guy, stubborn. Anyway, so this newspaper article I got said that it said that this woman divorced this guy in 1952, I think it was. So I called my daughter and said, does any of this sound familiar? Accordingly, apparently this woman divorced a guy who has the same name as your, Nick's grandfather. She said, well, he had a tattoo on his arm and he would never tell anybody what it was. It was a woman's name. And I said, was that woman's name Leona by any chance? She said, oh my God, yes. So anyway, there's other factors in there, but the obituary solved that myth for the entire family. This guy would never tell anybody who Leona was. Also, Leona and he had a son who was his namesake. He had the exact same name. And 20 years after this divorce, he was killed in a car accident in Maine. And all the detail that was in the newspaper, it wasn't an obituary, it was a newspaper article, nailed down his identity. And yes, as a matter of fact, the guy that was killed in Maine was my son-in-law's uncle or step-uncle, or however the relationship would be.
It's a little confusing.
It's confusing, but it was just neat how this whole spider web kind of came together, because I'm fooling around on the internet looking at crazy articles. I got the name of Mary's maiden name. I got census records with all the siblings that we didn't have. I solved the family mystery from stubborn old Chester who wouldn't talk about it, and just all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was just neat.
You should write an article for that.
It's gonna go. It'll be a blog. Give me 3 or 4 months to put it together. God Almighty! But it was a neat. It's just a neat story. and I told my daughter I don't want to start any family issues. She says, "Oh no, this is going to solve a lot." You know, she went on and on.
We'll
She's
find
excited.
out.
Yeah.
So you're saying, Dave, we ought to read newspaper articles? Is that what you're trying to say?
Not just the headline, exactly. Not just the headline, and to and I don't use Snagit, although I'm trying. I use the Windows whatever it's called,
snipping tool.
the snipping tool, and it too highlights the names, and that's how I saw this Zellgraph name that jumped off the paper because it was highlighted. And anyway, I mean, it's just a whole bunch of things that just happen to fall together. I wish all my problems would fall together and be solved that easily. Yep.
Me too.
Yes, read the article. Read the and when and by the way, when I use Snippet, I do the same thing you were doing in Snagit. I grab the name of the newspaper and the date, and I don't care how much other stuff I pull in with it, as long as I've got the article itself with what's going to become the citation at the top of the image.
Yeah, and I might actually like remove or cover over with a white box the things on the side to pretty it up a little bit. I might do that. I was
you have way too much time on your hands.
I know. I really want to do more quilting and that hang gliding. I haven't given up on that yet.
No. George Bush didn't give up on it for a long time.
All right. Yeah, I need to have like 15 guys hanging on to me to assure me that I would survive the fall. Oh, yeah. I'd always worry. That's how I am about roller coasters, guys. You know, they talk about the worst roller coaster disaster in 75 years. It became derailed. And I'm like, that'd be just my luck. I don't do roller coasters either. So anyway,
Pat's with us.
Hey, hi, Pat. Oh, you're here. So you were going to talk to us about some of the family treasures that you unearthed during your move to this new place. Oh, I see Christmas is starting to arrive at your house, isn't it?
Trying to.
So we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about some of these old family things that you found. Talk to us.
I was going through some boxes and it was stuff that I had gotten when my father died. And you know how you go through stuff but you don't remember things or you don't really see the first time. And this is what I was kind of going through these. So this one thing that I found was this little book.
Teamsters, something, chauffeurs. What is this?
Official due book, International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Chauffeurs, Warehousemen, and Helpers. And my father, when my parents were first married and I was a baby, he worked, he drove for a yellow cab. But then he went for a couple of years before he went to suburban transportation. He worked for a Bon Bread company and drove a truck for Bon Bread. So this due book was when he worked for Bon Bread. And what it was, he had to belong to the International Union. Inside, it tells you that they had to carry this book with them at all times because somebody could stop them and want to inspect it. And it gave his information, where he lived, and then it has date initiated was January 15th, 1953.
Whoa.
And then this was the initiation insignia stamp that was put in there. And then an emergency, it was my mom's information over here. And then each month when he paid his dues, they put this stamp in there.
Wow.
And
I've never seen something like that. Have you?
I know. I never saw anything like it before. And that's what, so I was talking to my brother yesterday and he said, well, you know, they probably had to pay their dues in person. And then they stamped this
Presented this, yes.
And they had to carry this with them all the time. And so I thought that was just so cool.
I see a blog post coming. I see a blog post.
Yeah. And then the other thing I found this raggedy envelope. And inside it were these two hankies.
Oh.
This one.
Hold it up higher. Yeah.
this
the
one,
Liberty Bell on it, kind of a
it
thing.
says Philadelphia, and then the date at the bottom is 1776 to 1926.
Okay, so that's 150, not 200 years, 150 years. I don't know. I can't do the math.
Yeah, yeah. 1976. I remember when we had the big bicentennial thing.
Yes.
But 1926. So it's like this hanky that just folds out like this.
A memento.
But I wonder if there was, I have to Google this. I have to see if maybe there was some big celebration in Philly at that time.
I'm sure there was.
And this, and this, but then the other hanky was this. One of these little keepsake things.
Oh.
And it says, "Greetings from the USS Memphis."
Whoa.
And it has a picture of the ship. It was a steamer. And then it has on it, "When golden sun is sinking and your mind from troubles free, when of others you are thinking, will you sometimes think of me?" So it's something like, like what a sailor would send home or something, So yesterday I Googled the ship, and it's now the title of the name of a submarine. But this ship, which had the picture like what's here, shown here.
Okay, hold it up so I can see what it actually, higher.
It was a steamer.
Okay, it was a steamship. Okay.
And when I found that on Wikipedia, it was built in Philadelphia in the 1880s. And it was in service through World War II. In 1945, they brought it back to Philadelphia to decommission it. So I'm thinking there was some kind of big celebration when they brought it back for decommissioning. And this was a memorabilia from that.
And if you don't know Philadelphia, you know that on both sides of the river, especially the Philadelphia side, were shipyards. And
Philadelphia
the Navy
shipyard.
The
Navy Yard.
And the Philadelphia Navy Yard is, so it's all lined up right there. So on both sides of the river, Camden's got some of the submarines. The first nuclear submarine.
That's what I found yesterday, the USS Memphis.
Yep.
And see, it had the picture when I clicked on the ship.
Yes. This is the main
that's
one.
the submarine. That's the submarine. So when I clicked on the one that was for this ship, the picture was identical to what is on this hanky.
All right, which one of these does it look like? This one, the middle one?
Steamer. No, it says USS Memphis, Wikipedia. USS Memphis may refer to 1853 was a wooden 5-gun. Yeah, that. And that picture. Oh no, that's not the same one. Well, that shows it.
Yep. Oh, it does?
There's a steamship on the side there.
Yes. Wow. So I guess they do get to reuse names if they feel like it, huh?
I guess once the ship's been decommissioned, then they can use it for another ship.
This is like our ancestors shouldn't reuse given names for 200 years. Okay.
Tell me about it.
Oh my gosh. So it took a little digging. The way I got to this point was I did USS Memphis and then 1880, and then that's where I got through to these. Let's see. There she was. No, that one looks. Is that it?
No, that's it.
Okay, we finally found it.
Yeah, it's the same mass, because that's the one that tells you about the decommissioning and all that. It had been built in Philadelphia, and then they brought it back for the decommissioning in 1945.
Wow.
So there was probably some big celebration then.
Okay. Cool. Those are unusual things that you have, Pat.
I know. I was really excited about it.
All right. Deneen has something to say.
Yeah, Deneen says, Are there union records that might be relevant to genealogical research? The answer is yes.
Yes.
Well, and that was a thing, to be able to belong to a union. I can remember when we didn't have unions, and it was murderous if you broke a line when people went on strike, especially in the early days, or when they were striking to even become a union shop.
Hey, when I worked for Bell Telephone in the early 1970s, it was, I remember one year that we had a strike, and I wasn't
1972.
I wasn't in the union, and we were given the option to break the line and come to work, or to stay home. So I was a single person then. I wasn't married when we had the strike. So I chose to not break the line and stayed home. And but I can remember what those were like. And I know the transportation. I mean, my father always belonged, when he worked for Red Arrow and then SEPTA, when SEPTA took Red Arrow over. He was always in the union. And my girlfriend's father, I grew up with them. They lived a couple of houses down from us, and her father was transportation union, because he had started working for the Philadelphia Transportation Company before SEPTA took over everything. And he was vice president of the International Union. And when I got married, my first husband, his family was all worked for Red Arrow and stuff. That was how I met him. And so his father was a union man. And at one point we were at the reception, and my girlfriend's father, he walked across the room toward my father-in-law, and I stopped him. I said, "Wait a minute, this is my wedding. This isn't a union meeting. Go sit down." You know?
Yeah, cease and desist. We're playing here. We're not playing that game. We're playing this game.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got some comments about this.
Cherie says the ILWU, International Longshoremen and Warehousemen Union in San Francisco, might have records, and Dave might read my homework for this week in how to cite an artifact, family letters, and photos.
And handkerchiefs. Handkerchiefs we discussed last week with the quilt that Mr. Myrt's sister made. Okay, I did highlight a couple of extra things that had just been posted, where people are talking about strikes and unions and things like that. Maybe you can bring those in.
Deneen says, I have a person of interest whose name turns up as cab driver in jail in San Francisco in the 1930s. More evidence is needed. Marion says, some of my folks from Africa gave mourners embroidered handkerchiefs at funerals here in Massachusetts. And
I think that has to do with a tradition of following along behind a casket, waving a handkerchief, and being sure that everyone has one. How very interesting. I wonder, I wish I knew, Marion, the basis for that. Cool. Go ahead, Red.
Yvonne says, Dad's welding dues books that have stamps for when he paid his monthly dues.
So it's similar. Cool, Yvonne.
Valerie.
Yeah, she's gonna be
I see a deep dive session to create a citation. Maybe not before this Wednesday because my schedule's crammed, but after that.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan, Valerie.
Yeah, I even have my EE with the tab for artifacts up.
Yeah, I'm still getting organized. My desk corner here, and my EE is buried over here, but I gotta find it to get that out.
You know, it is fun to go through these books together and work on things, because your comments that you bring to the table, either in the chat or here on the panel, really help me internalize some of the concepts the authors are bringing out. What else do you have, Cousin Russ?
Deneen says monthly gives time to digest. So this is about the research. So
I think monthly's a good plan. It'll take us a long time with 28 chapters, but we'll manage. Okay, and then there are, Hillary, you said something about reusing ship names, and I always like to get the international perspective. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I've got connections with people that were in the merchant marine over here, and there is at least one of the ships that my grandfather was on there were more than one of those ships. When one was no longer in use, they used the name again for another ship. So you have to look carefully at what the time period is just to be able to see which ship you're talking about.
Yes, you certainly do. All right, I picked the wrong screen. Just a minute, Russ. I want to share my screen and switch gears again. And Randy, give me the link what you want to talk about. While you're working on that, let me just mention that Wednesday, the 28th of February through Saturday, the 3rd of March, 2018 is Roots Tech. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. But what I wanted to mention is that if you are a Genia blogger or vlogger, some might be an Instagrammer, if you are a member of Genia Bloggers Tribe and you don't have a set of blogger beads, I will give you blogger beads. Cousin Russ and I always sponsor those and give them out to at the conferences we attend. Couple of things to tell you about that week of Roots Tech. What do we do on Monday, Cousin Russ? And you might be there in person. You're muted.
I don't know yet, but Mondays with MYRT from the Nerve Center of Roots Tech at the Family History Library on the Conference Center on the 2nd floor.
Yeah, I think it's the 3rd floor.
Third floor.
Yeah, it's right. It's across. There's this glass enclosed conference room, big conference table, and we set up a computer projector and a screen so that people who walk by can see that we're in a hangout. And usually Barry Klein is my cameraman, and we have 6 or 8 of us coming in the room at a time, and we make it a 2-hour session. After that Mondays with MYRT, we head across Temple Square and we go to the church office building. In the lower level, they have a cafeteria. Great food, great prices, and that's what we do on Monday. On Tuesday, Laura Diamond and a few others want to go on tour, maybe up to This Is the Place or Antelope Island or Park City. I'm going to hang around and have lunch at the Blue Lemon at noon, and that's kind of fun to get to meet people. Gives us photo ops. Also, during the conference on Friday at 11, or no, I have another appointment at 11 on Friday. At Friday at noon, there will be a photo op in the Media Hub. So anybody that's part of the Genia Bloggers Tribe can get in on the photo wearing your beads. So it'll be cool. I might get some t-shirts ready for you to order by then as well. What's Family Search doing on the 13th of December, Cousin Russ? He's like, I forgot. You have to log in. That's what it is.
Yes, us. Right. We talked about that last week. Yeah, things are changing.
Yeah.
And we didn't know that you had to log in until we started seeing an announcement and going forward in order to see the records that are on Family Search. You have to log in, and that's not a big deal. It's just a matter of creating an account, and all you need to do for that is have an email account. So
yep. And it's a free account. It's just like you have to log in to register for a Legacy Family Tree webinar or these Hangouts. You just have to, guys. It's part of how they can keep track of where people tend to be doing research. So if we all start using Polish research record sets, like my friend Maria, who lives 2 doors away, and by the way, happy birthday on Saturday, dear. She had her birthday. Yeah. Then they know to put more of their efforts in the Polish records groups that are not yet digitized or haven't even been filmed yet. So, yeah. Cherie's coming to Roots Tech. Yay. Good to see you there again. Okay. All right. What else? Let's see.
Randy.
Okay, Randy, what do you want to talk about first, kiddo? Oh, by the way, happy birthday to your Linda.
Yeah. Nice birthday. Yeah.
Yes.
That was yesterday. And so we, did the traditional stuff. We don't have the kids here, and we didn't go up there. So
yeah,
we just went out to dinner last night, and she had her margarita and was happy.
And she likes angels.
And she likes angels, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she got something from her brother and something from her daughter, and then a friend that she's known for a long time that she doesn't see anymore because she lives 12 miles away and Linda can't drive. And
yeah.
She sent her a box of stuff, about 20 little gifts in it for both Christmas and her birthday. So that was nice.
How thoughtful. Let me just say happy birthday to you, Pat. We're not getting older, we're getting better, huh, babe?
Yep. My kids all said yesterday.
We're always getting better.
My kids yesterday kept saying 29 and holding.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my mother used to.
It's hard when you've got a couple of kids that are over 40.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Well, you were a foster mom to them. Yes, I know. I hear you. All right, Randy. So do you want to do Shakespeare or probate?
Well, I think the Shakespeare one is probably more interesting. We've done a lot about probate, but the big event last week was the engagement of Prince Harry to Meghan Markle.
Mm-hmm.
And I put a link in the chat there for the American Ancestors article, royal ancestry. She's back to Edward III, and through that, then she's related to Queen Elizabeth a bunch of times, and Prince Harry at 240 times, things like that. And that's pretty common. That's pretty common for people with English ancestry. They had to dig a bit to find the gateway ancestor here in America to get back to it,
Mm-hmm.
And she's mixed race, and so she doesn't have as many potential royal ancestors as other people with New England ancestry might have.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's an excellent article, and there's a nice chart. The link just at the top of your screen there. Go up a bit.
This one?
The royal ancestry of Meghan Markle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that has a beautiful little chart in it. And I was thinking of making one for me also.
Oh my heavens. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I could use that whole thing and just put my own line on the left-hand side there from Edward III.
Yes.
So I was thinking of doing that, but I thought I might violate copyright.
So that makes us cousins, Randy, because I go back to the royal houses of all of Europe. Once you get to any of them, you're pretty much in like Flint. Yeah, cool.
And then I saw another article that said Meghan is descended from William Shakespeare.
Ah.
And I thought, gee, I haven't done that yet. I haven't looked yet. And so that's why I wrote my article about am I related to William Shakespeare? And I related that Meghan Markle is. And so we have 3 fairly significant world trees. We have Jenny, we have WikiTree, and we have Family Search Family Tree.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one called We Relate, and there was another one a long time ago about Genealogy One World and stuff like that.
Right.
So I tend to use Jenny now because it seems to have concentrated on folks that are famous, like Shakespeare. WikiTree hasn't concentrated as much, and I doubt the Family Search Family Tree has concentrated a lot on famous people and all the lines, you know. So I did Jenny first, and I found that Jenny told me that I was related to William Shakespeare, and that he was my 5th cousin, 12 times removed.
Well, that's close enough for comfort, don't you think?
Yeah. So I'm Megan's cousin again. And then I went to WikiTree.
Okay.
And WikiTree told me that, well, I'm not related. It said that we were 7th cousins, 11 times removed, with a different common ancestor.
Well, you could go up any one branch or the other and probably find multiple ways you're connected.
Yeah, WikiTree tells you, Jenny only tells you one connection. WikiTree tells you a bunch of connections. I had another 25 or something like that connections to William Shakespeare. And the problem that they didn't find the same connection that was in Jenny is that I haven't added all of my ancestors to WikiTree.
Oh, okay.
It only has like 13 or 14 million people in it, and Jenny has 100 and something, 100 million.
Yeah.
You know, 100 million or more.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of
numbers.
How many are in a database.
Yeah.
And then I did Family Search Family Tree. And again, my line through both of those from the other sites.
Yeah, let me bring this up. Yeah.
My line isn't in Family Search Family Tree because of duplications. And I what I'm connected to doesn't go back as far as another duplicate does, you know? You understand?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to fix all that because it's probably a big time waster at this point. But so Family Search told me I wasn't directly related to William Shakespeare, but I am related to Anne Hathaway.
Okay. Yeah.
His wife.
Yeah.
And that may be the better person. God only knows, you know. So Robert Hathaway is apparently my 13th great grandfather. Now, all this, relies upon people to input stuff correctly, and we don't know if that's the case. So my conclusion is that I may be related to William Shakespeare.
And all this without benefit of ancestries we're related at, huh?
Yeah, ancestry we're related at doesn't go back far enough.
I know.
Yeah.
And then lately I've been seeing a lot of the earlier generations as private. The individual's name is private. So
yeah, that makes no sense, does it?
Yeah. I want you to bring in that comment that Luana just posted, Russ, because I want to say something there. If you would, please.
Okay. Does Family Search go back with their tree to say 1,000 or 900?
Yes, here's why. Years ago, we are taught we don't need to go back beyond 1500 when the church records began to be kept in England. And of course, it varies from locale to locality. But there are these ancient royal lineages that have survived on parchment and goatskin and all this stuff. And there was a thing that was referred to in the source, which was edited by Lou Zooks. And it was called the Medieval Records Identification Unit. And they took all of those lineages that they could run across and put them in PAF, personal ancestral file, and so that it was because that's lineage based as opposed to event based like IGI. And so it's in there. But you know that those are fraught with errors, and that you can't click on a name and see the sources that were consulted. And some of those old ancient lineages were forced, to say the least. So I really don't care about my research before 1500. I recognize we may all be descended from Adam and Eve, except for the part of my family that you know, the ancient aliens left, in Central America, anciently. But yeah, they do have things that go that far back in their tree. Like, I'm supposedly related to Czech of Czechoslovakia. And that's just his only name. But what do we know? Okay, enough fairy tales. Interesting thing to talk about. I highly recommend, folks, that those of you who are new and maybe don't know Randy Seaver, follow his Genium Musings. It's one of the tip-top genealogy blogs in the world. People know him the world over. I kind of think he looks like Santa Claus, though. Let's zoom in on his face there. Yeah. And I love that picture of you and your sweet Linda yesterday on her birthday. That you posted. It was pretty cool. I love it. Thank you. All right. Our time is almost up. I would like to give away a copy of that new book, Researcher's Guide. It's $50. I can send it from my remote offices at Amazon.com. So Cousin Russ, I want you to be thinking of a number, and I will give away a copy of that. This is the book publisher site, genealogical.com. It's just easier for me to order through Amazon because I don't have to call them up. I can just do it and it'll be out the door today. Okay, yes, I'm also related to Odin, Bill. I see you are.
Mr. West says, according to one of these trees, I'm descended from Odin, which may be why those dang ravens keep hanging around my yard.
Well, somebody's got to get after the squirrels. Yeah, I hear you. Okay. All right. So let's just talk about what we're going to be doing in December. And I want you to know that I'm working really hard on updating this archives page. Usually you use this and drop down to whichever one of our study groups you're interested in. And initially, Dear Myrtle Hangouts website was just for the new Hangouts, which are now old. But there's a ton of content over on my YouTube channel. And I want to change this page so that you will find a link to every single one of our study groups. Russ, why didn't I do this before? I didn't think of it. You know, you can only do 400 things at once, I guess, but I digress. That's what I'll be doing in December, is updating this to include a whole heck of a lot more of our study group series. Okay, so in December, we have Mondays with MYRT today. Our GenDoc study group, Chapter 12. On Wednesday morning, we haven't quite figured out what we're going to do for Wacky Wednesday. Cousin Russ, we may have to look at our list. We'll have game night on Saturday, and it's going to be tight because there is a neighborhood party that starts at 5 that I'm going to. So I will go ahead and set up the Hangout, Russ, and have it open, and so that I can just run home. Church is only like 2 minutes away. And we will do game night and play Who's in My Line. We'll have Mondays with MYRT again on the 11th. On the 13th is our last day for Hangouts in December because of the holiday break. We find if we take a break periodically, it's amazing what cool things Cousin Russ and I figure out to do genealogically. We actually do a little research, don't we, Russ?
Yep.
I'll also use this time to work on the redesign. I mean, not change the logos or anything, but the enhancements to my Hangouts part of my website. We'll have the GenDoc study group for citing original online content, Chapter 13, a week from Wednesday. And why does that say the 6th? It should say the 13th. I had a lot of trouble with my dates, didn't I? I had to like fix it 3 times and I'm still not correct, but I'll fix it. It will be on the 13th. And then we'll do our open Q&A with Blaine Bettinger for our very last hangout in 2017. I don't know if I can say 2018.
Not yet.
I hear ya. All right, so that's what we're doing. I always put the link for the date and time world clock so that you can add your city, Salt Lake City. And if I want to find out, what is your town, Hillary? Unmute, dear.
I usually do the time by Dublin time even, because I'm not that far from Ireland where I am.
Okay, all right. So I don't have to type that 432 letter long town name and get it accurate. So it's 11 at 11 a.m. for me. It's 6 p.m. your time. And actually, when we are looking at a Hangout, at hangouts.dearmyrtle.com, it does tell you, at least that part works. It does tell you how many hours it is and what time it is in your time zone. So it's all good. Cousin Russ, thank you for being here. Hats off to you, sir. Thank you for being my partner in crime. I'm so honored to work with you. And haven't we been blessed by cool people to be with us in the Hangout, either in the Unified Chat or on our panels throughout the years? It's been pretty cool. Have you got a winner? Yeah, it does
42.
take a village. Okay, so 42, well, let's see, who would that be? Looks like it's Carol Ellis Jones.
Yep.
Okay, Carol, send old Myrt an email. Thanks for coming over. I'm glad we got to know each other just a little bit better. Here's my email, dear. I just typed it in. And I will need your address, city, state, zip. It has to, I will have them send it out to you today as soon as you send me that. Also give me your phone number, not because I'm going to bug you, but because that's one of the fill in the blank fields that Amazon requires. You wanted to talk about sticks and stones, and then we'll use that as our wrap up.
No, it was just we were talking about the word related app, and there were some comments, and thought this blog post was very interesting by the legal genealogist on that topic, and I will put the link in the Unified Chat so you can read it.
Okay, so it's about the app, and she's so old school when it comes to goofy things like preferring the genealogical proof standard to a commercial app. She wants to call herself an old fuddy-duddy. I gotta tell you though, Russ, just as Who's in My Line made us think about our ancestor differently and about my research differently, the We're Related app made me look at my research differently. Does that make sense?
Well, I use the app not to get answers, but I created a database based on it with my own documentation for that database.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, I have overlaid DNA to it. And so I used the data. I created the database to see if I could figure out how to handle some situations that I always wanted to, like emails. How about messages on Ancestry? So I use that database to document a good database. And
yeah,
and then we talked about DNA. So that's a part of what I was trying to accomplish, is how do I handle DNA? So in fact, I use that database and have overlaid my research with DNA, and it's been incredible how accurate now. But I have a difference. My use of DNA is not about names and dates, because they don't count. I use DNA for relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking the DNA relationship data, put it against my names and dates database and been able to show what my chart would look like if I had through DNA on top of my database, and I was pretty happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, I think it's anything to get our brains kicked into gear is a good thing. Yeah, and somebody asked if you have to have a paid subscription to Ancestry for the We're Related app to work. No, you do not. You just need an Ancestry member tree. Okay.
And Ancestry member trees are free.
Free. Yep, you got it. Okay, well, folks, thanks for coming to celebrate with us today. Thank you to each member of our panel. Congratulations to Carol for winning that book. I will be happy to send it to you this afternoon. In fact, I'll open up my email right now. Send me a note quickly. Okay, I'm going to get choked up. Nothing left to say, but on behalf of Cousin Russ, I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.